Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, sir.
How are you? Good.
Yeah, not bad.
We're
Not
doing good.
bad. Not bad. Doing good. All right. Here. Okay. Oh, wait just a couple minutes. How are we finding Macbeth?
Really hard.
Really hard?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we'll try to unpack it. Yeah, a lot goes on in this third act. Oh, someone likes it. Is that the display?
Some crazy
Macau?
stuff, not gonna lie.
Sorry?
Some crazy stuff, not gonna lie.
It is some crazy stuff. That's because we have that blending with
Especially
the super.
the grammar. Oh my.
Well, again, that's why, the edition, if you have this edition, all right, the one that Mikhail was so delicately caressing, you have the annotations at the bottom of the page, which, are quite helpful. But again, it's a process. The more we look at it together, the more we will, the easier it should be for you to start getting accustomed to the language. And then once that level of comfortability is achieved, then a greater appreciation for what's going on there. In one of his obviously more well-known plays, and one of his more entertaining plays, I would suggest. So much goes on, and so on. There's so many versions of this made into movies and obviously productions on stage. There's a wonderful, I think it's called Blood of Thrones, by the Japanese director Kurosawa. And, that I may bring in, and maybe we'll take a look at, not today, but more likely next week, to see some of the ways it's depicted. It's quite something. Okay. All right. How do we get here? 19. See who's with us. All right, other comments. All right, so difficult, the grammar, the language, but are you following what's going on? Right, I mean, that's where it all starts. Be sure that's a little bit. Mala's going, I don't know what's up with this and that and the other thing. And
It's starting to get easier for me. Like I'm starting to understand a little bit better.
yeah, I mean, and that's always the case, right? The more familiar you become with it, the more and again, initially, as we're doing now, it's just making sure we understand what's going on. We have 2 more weeks after this to deal with Macbeth, right? And by then, we should be able to bring it together and really delve into the themes and the layers.
Increasing the curiosity and interesting it's becoming how it's running the story.
Say that again. Sorry?
Want to know? It's making a curiosity to know about the end of the story.
Well, I mean that is one of the things, in the Shakespearean canon, all his works. This is one of his plays where we start to notice, because when we look at the reasons that drove Macbeth and Lady Macbeth to commit regicide and kill King Duncan, is pretty straightforward. There is, and this is of course part of Macbeth's struggle, there really is no moral justification. which often there is in Shakespeare, right? If you take something like Hamlet, right? He's constantly grappling with the morality of what he's contemplating in terms of seeking revenge. There is an argument to make that Hamlet is justified in seeking that revenge for the death of his father. That it is a way of meking out justice, because he's going to kill his uncle who killed his father. So we don't really look at the target of his killing as innocent. And it's the dilemma. Of course, that's Hamlet. Hamlet's all about the difficulties of and the dangers of indecision, but also highlighting the complexity of making a decision of such magnitude. Here with Macbeth, I mean, what they did, right, in killing Duncan really can't be justified. Right? Duncan, as we discussed last week, is really a good guy. He's a good king. And the only reason they're killing him is for ambition. So as we go through this third act, and do note as we're going through this, all right, remember the relationship between Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, right? She's the one who's, what are you a man or not? Right? We're doing this thing, right? She seems to be leading. Watch how that starts to shift, right, after the act. Because remember, when we finished up with Act 2, Macbeth is king. Lady Macbeth is queen. Et voila. End of story. The prophecies came true. The witches, the weird sisters were right. Why aren't they at peace? They've realized their ambition. And this in particular with Lady Macbeth, how it starts to eat at her. And we ask ourselves, why? Is it because, well, wait a minute, there were other prophecies made? Let's not forget Banquo, right? Are we secure or are we safe? Is that what causes the anxiety, or is the anxiety predicated on guilt, a realization, an awareness of, what we did probably was not good? And if so, why weren't you thinking about that before you did it? Other comments? Observations? Concerns?
Yeah, actually, I'm worried about the final exam.
Okay.
I myself, I was more comfortable with the short stories. It was easier for me to understand, to analyze. But this one is, it's too much. It's
Yeah, no,
really.
I promise you're not alone. But at the same time, especially this is the second time I'm actually teaching Shakespeare in the 101. Often I just do the short stories, but it went well the last time I did it, and because it gives you a challenge, and of course it's my responsibility, right, to make sure that you're getting to a point where, yes, you will be able to analyze it properly in relation to the final exam. And I will, right? Bear with me. That's why we have so much, that's why I'm giving so much time to deal with it. All right? And as we get closer to that exam, because we're on a good pace here, let me just double check the calendar. If I'm not mistaken, our last class is on the 2nd of December. That means after today, we have three classes, and then the last class on the 2nd will be the exam. But so if you look at that, we're going to do Act 3 today, Act 4 next week, Act 5 the week after that, and that gives us an open slot the week before the exam, unless they change and we go into the college for the exam. I haven't heard yet. But anticipating that you'll be taking the exam on our last day of class, which is the 2nd, we have the 25th, where we will have finished Macbeth, and then all we can do is then look at it in relation to the type of question you can anticipate on the final exam. Okay? And along the way, we will be talking about other writing issues, right? We touched on that last week. And we will work a bit on thesis statements, fundamentals, and we'll be doing that together. So it's very purposefully done so that we have a free class, 4 hours technically, to just prepare and review.
Thanks,
And
sir.
then
I have a question.
Yes.
For our exam, for the final exam, I'm just wondering because I'm just having difficulty understanding this Macbeth. So I'm wondering, is it like you're gonna choose an act and we have to elaborate, or the question will be like in regards in our understanding about the story? How is it gonna go?
Yeah, the second. Right, it's not. I'm not going to have you do a passage analysis. We'll probably do 1 or 2 of those between now and the exam, as in-class assignments, or variation thereof. But no, the exam will ask you to explore a theme,
Okay.
as the midterm was. Right,
Okay.
similar type of question as that.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. So, and of course, for those of you who are concerned, and it seems like to be a few of you, start thinking and writing down your questions and the specific concerns you have regarding the text so that we can address them directly. All right, that may be a little tough because you're still in the process of reading it, but at any time you bring up specifics, we will explore them. And certainly, and I will remind you of this in a couple of weeks, for that last review class before the exam, you should all be bringing in your questions, all right, and saying, I don't understand what happened here in Act 4, Scene 2, what, and we'll go and we'll look at it together. Because if you have questions, you're not alone. Yeah, that's one thing I've come to fully realize. Sometimes you think, oh, I'm the only one who doesn't get this. You're not.
Yes.
Promise. Okay.
We are with you.
Yeah. And so don't hesitate. It's the old cliche, there are no stupid questions. There really aren't. And as I always, tell my students, if you have questions and you don't bring them up, that's on you. I'm not a mind reader. Okay. And it's particularly in this environment where I'm only seeing 6 of you, right? At least when I'm in the classroom, I can always tell when I get all those blank stares on faces and I'm going, oh my God, they're not following me at all. So I can easily shift gears, and it's my method of teaching. That I go in, I know that when I start a class, I want to get from point A to point B. Okay, but I'm not formulaic. I don't have it all mapped out. Okay, so for the first 10 minutes, we're going to talk this, and then we're going to move to this, and then we're going to do this, and then we're going to do this, and I'm going to be rigidly fixated on doing it exactly like this. That's not how I teach. I know I want to get from point A to point B. How we're going to get there, that all depends on what happens in the class. Very limited ability to do that in this environment. All right, but you guys are the best for me at this because you're the only class that put on your cameras, and it really makes a difference. I can tell you from my perspective, and I know that I would probably be one of those who wouldn't put my camera on if I was on your side of the computer. So I do appreciate those of you do, and that's not in any way to pressure anyone to put their cameras on. That's a personal choice. I have no problem with that. It just helps me, so I can at least get some responses. Anything else before we get into the text itself? Remember what transpired at the end of Act 2, right? Right. So Macbeth becomes king. What else is there because it's starting to alert us. Remember, at this stage, we're in Act 3, beginning of Act 3. Macbeth is already king. So what are we anticipating now as an audience? And we know that there's no moral or ethical justification for them doing what they did. So we should be probably anticipating this can't go well for Macbeth. There has to be some kind of return to order in the state. Remember, this is an unnatural act, regicide, killing a king. It's particularly unnatural because the king has not, to our knowledge, or been presented to us in any way as having done anything wrong. On the contrary. So we see the disruption in nature reflecting the disruption in the state. This is wrong, and we see then, that's why we have the supernatural, right? And the chaos and the witches. And as we see in Act 3, ghosts, right? Banquo's ghost appears at the banquet. Banquet. Interesting. Right? But keep in mind with the ghost of Banquo at the banquet, only Macbeth sees the ghost. Think of Macbeth in that famous scene we discussed last week with the floating dagger. Right? Is it a bit, because remember he pulls out his real dagger. He goes, well, here's my dagger. What is this? So all that is a reflection of the disruption of nature, both physical nature. Sorry, I should forewarn you. My youngest son is in 9th grade. They're now home every second day. So he's over there in his class. And I have to keep glancing over because I'm saying, okay, why are you laughing and goofing around during class? Anyway, so if I look over that way, you'll know that that's what's happening there. So this disruption in nature is both the physical manifestation of storm, right? We saw the storms with the witches and all this stuff, but it's also the storm within the human nature and the disruption thereof. We see this particularly the way Macbeth freaks out, right? In that banquet scene when he sees the ghost. And no one can understand, why are you freaking out? There's no one there. And one of the questions we have to ask is it a real ghost or is Macbeth hallucinating? All right? These are the types of things you want to be asking yourselves as we look at it. Okay. Let's check. Okay. So let's go look at the text. And remember, stop me at any point if you're having issues. Uh-oh. Where is it? Ah, there. Is that it? Okay. Is this right? Yeah, Act 3. Okay. Okay, so we start off, and we're going to go through it slowly again so that we're following the basic plot. So Act 3, right? We're at the palace. Banquo. What's going on here with Banquo? What is he, when he first, right? He has this little bit, he enters alone. He's talking directly to us. Remember, that is in this case, a brief soliloquy. And a soliloquy, when they're alone on stage, is a means by which we are exposed to his inner thoughts. Like, again, always keeping in mind that we don't have that narrator that was so comforting and helpful to us in the short stories, directing us and telling us what the thoughts are going on. Here it's a little more challenging to figure it out because it's all presented in dialogue. that thou hast it now, King, Cawdor, Glamis, all, as the weird women promised. And I fear thou playest most foully for it. What does that mean?
He's thinking that Macbeth did something bad to get where he
Right?
Foul play, huh?
Yeah, right. Playest most foully, foul play. Right? This is Shakespeare playing with the way he, right? So, as we probably were expecting, Macbeth, we've gathered, is not, he's a pretty smart guy. So he's the only one who has been savvy to the weird sister's prophecy. Can't be stupid enough not to at least be somewhat suspicious. Did Macbeth engage in foul play to become king? But he says, yet it was said it should not stand in thy posterity, but that myself should be the root and father of many kings. Right? Remember, that's the second part of the prophecy that the weird sister said. If there come truth from them, as upon thee, Macbeth, their speeches shine. Why, by the verities on thee made good, may they not be my oracles as well, and set me up in hope? So, Banquo here is suspicious as to how Macbeth became king, right? He suspects foul play, but he's also acknowledging, you know what, those weird sisters were right. And if they were right about this, are they right about what they said to me? We're getting a little hint here, and we haven't seen it that much yet, of Banquo's ambition. Ambition for his children. Ambition for the future, that his children will be kings. All right? But the difference is, if we're seeing ambition manifest in Banquo, the question is, it comes back to that overarching question in the whole play of, will these prophecies be realized if we do nothing? Because a true prophecy should. If it is a matter that there are powers that be that control our destiny, then I should be able to just sit here and it'll still happen. But of course, at the same time, this gets into that question that has plagued philosophers, artists, theologians since the beginning of time, is how much control do we have over our actions? So we'll come back to Macbeth, because we know he contemplated this, and maybe if I do nothing, I'll still become king. And we have Lady Macbeth saying, "Wow, come on, let's not risk that. Let's take control ourselves." And we never get that answer, because maybe the prophecy was wise enough, and the exterior powers that be that control us all along knew and were controlling Macbeth, knowing that his weakness would lead him to actually act out rather than just wait for it to fall in his lap. Because, and again, that's contrasted with Banquo, who here is saying, this actually may work out well for me. But we don't get him saying, but what, because then the natural thinking would be, okay, well, first I'd have to get rid of Macbeth, because he's currently king. But of course, it's not that simple, because then who would be next in line? And remember, Macbeth had to deal with that as well. It worked out conveniently for him. All right, we killed Duncan, but what about Malcolm? Because Malcolm, Duncan's son, is the next in line. So we have that combination of, yes, it was Macbeth becoming king is a direct result of him and Lady Macbeth killing King Duncan. But that didn't guarantee his kingship. There had to be another element come into play. How do we get rid of Malcolm? And that had nothing to do with what was part of their plan. Right? That is a bit, it's like happenstance, chance. the chance that Donalbain and Malcolm choose of their own free will to leave for fear that maybe they're going to be next. Whoever killed their father is going to come after them, which might have been the next move for Macbeth. Their leaving was not part of the plan. So we're having both the will, free will, make decisions, take actions to achieve your end, that is also infused with chance and the mysterious, right? And the supernatural, because it's all coming from the weird sisters. So we have here Banquo starting to, say, well, this may turn out well. And in comes Macbeth and Lady Macbeth, lords, ladies, and attendants. Macbeth, here's our chief guest. Lady Macbeth, if he had been forgotten, it had been as a gap in our great feast and all thing becoming. They're setting up for this banquet, this great feast. Macbeth says, tonight we hold a solemn supper, sir, and I'll request your presence. Remember, he's king now, right? We know this because we saw it earlier, but again, we look at this. Always be attentive to these directions, stage directions, and so on. And Lady Macbeth now is queen. And it's emphasized because this is what they set out to do. Their ambition were to be king and queen. So I request your presence, let your highness command upon me to the which my duties, right? Again, another theme here, duty, allegiance to kings, right? Duty to friends, loyalty, right? That's again, a big part of why Macbeth was debating. This king is good to me. I should be loyal to him. He's given me no proper cause. What is my duty? Right? And he chooses the duty to himself as opposed to the state or anyone else. The selfishness of that ambitious act by both Lady Macbeth and Macbeth. Are with the most indissoluble tie forever knit. Okay. And Macbeth, are you going anywhere this afternoon? Are you riding this afternoon? Ride you this afternoon? Going anywhere there, Banquo? Because we have to also, we know what's coming, right? Macbeth is no fool, well, for the most part. And Macbeth is sitting there going, I know what the witches told Banquo as well. And I know that if the prophecies that they made for me have come true, then what's to stop the prophecies for Banquo to come true, in which case I am not safe or secure. This is just a temporary position I'm in because Banquo's sons are going to become king. And that's a problem. Do you ride this afternoon? Yes, I do. Sorry. 14-year-old boy over on the couch disrupting my class. We should have else desired your good advice, which still hath been both grave and prosperous in this day's council, but will take tomorrow. Is it a far ride? So notice how he's doing this. We desire your good advice. We want you to bring the banquet, but he keeps pressing. You going somewhere? How far are you going? And so that's alerting us. Uh-oh, I think Macbeth's up to something. Why is he so inquisitive? As far, my lord, as will fill up the time twixt this and supper. Go not my house the better. I must become a borrower of the night for a dark hour or twain. Not so far that I won't be able to make it to the banquet. Just going to go kind of clear my head, that type of thing. And again, Macbeth, fail not our feast. Don't be late, my lord. I will not. We hear our bloody cousins are bestowed in England and Ireland. Who was he referring to?
The
The king's
sons?
sons,
The king's
MacLaren.
son. Remember, we saw that at the end of the previous act that when they ran, one has gone to England, one has gone to Ireland, right? And again, the cleverness of the two sons, they're not going to go together. So if they are thinking that whoever killed their father is going to come after them, we'll travel separately. Make it a little more difficult, not make ourselves easily captured together. The bloody cousins bestowed in England are not confessing their cruel parricide. They're not admitting that they killed their father. Parricide is the killing of your father, right? They're not admitting it, filling their hearers with strange invention. But if that tomorrow, when therewithal we shall have cause of state craving us jointly. We'll talk about that tomorrow because we have this business, state affairs that require both our attention. Hi, you to horse, adieu till you return tonight. Oh, go Fleance with you? Who's Fleance?
His son, Bakau's son.
So again, try to envision how this would be played out. Okay, but that can wait till tomorrow. We've got a lot to talk about the state, and you go to your horse. See you, adieu, till you get back here tonight. Oh, by the way, is your son by any chance going with you?
All information he's getting, he want to get from you.
Right? He's getting the information because, and this is alerting us to what we know since we've read it, is coming up, which is he's planning on killing them both. And of course, it comes at the same time that it's mentioning that the two of Duncan's sons are separate. Can't get them both at the same time if they're separate. Here, oh, this is working out well. They're together. Two birds with one stone. I wish your horse is swift and sure foot, and so I do commend you to their backs. Farewell. Banquo leaves. Let every man be master of his time till 7 at night. To make society the sweeter welcome, we will keep ourselves till supper time alone. While then, God be with you. And everyone leaves, except for Macbeth and his attendant. Sirrah, a word with you. Attend those men our pleasure. Hello? What? Right, he's alone with his attendant, and he says to the attendant, hey, come on, I got to talk to you. Those guys, are they still waiting to see me? They are, my lord, without the palace gate, just outside the gate. Bring them before us. And he leaves, and we have this soliloquy. Again, anytime you see a soliloquy, take note. Right? It's usually when much is revealed to us about the character and anticipating the plot. To be thus is nothing, but to be safely thus. What does that mean? What is that suggesting?
That as king, he is comfortable, but it would be more comfortable, more better if, let's say, what's in his way would be out of his way, which would be Banquo and his son.
Right. He's not feeling, it's expressing, okay, here we are, we're king, but we're not safe. Right? And that seems perfectly obvious, too, to us, because we know what the weird sister said. Our fears in Banquo stick deep, and in his royalty of nature reigns that which would be feared. 'Tis much he dares, and to that dauntless temper of his mind he hath a wisdom that doth guide his valor to act in safety. Right? He's praising. I got to watch this guy. He's smart. Right? And he's got valor. There is none but he whose being I do fear. Right? So again, often when you're reading a soliloquy or you're reading any long passage, and you're going, what? I don't understand. What's he saying? Look for little things that you do understand. Often it'll come at the end. And then if you have time, go back and reread it and you'll see how some of the other things will make more sense. But look for, don't get discouraged. Look for little things that encapsulate much of what's being said here. There is none but he whose being I do fear. Okay, so what was all him saying up here? What? The guide his valor. What? Oh, he's saying, I'm scared of Banquo. Oh, that makes more sense now when I come back up here. Right? Because tis much he dares, and he's wise, and he's his valor and everything. This guy I'm scared of. And under him my genius is revoked. As it is said, Mark Antony was by Caesar. I'd love to expand on that, especially since I'm teaching Julius Caesar in another class, and it's referencing to one of the greatest speeches in Mark Antony and so on. But we'll leave that reference for now. We may return to it. I may actually bring up that scene later on when we have more time. He chided the sisters when first they put the name of king upon me, right? Remember, he was like challenging them. Oh, you're talking to him. What about me? Right? And he was chiding them. He was disbelieving them to some extent. And remember, he says to the sisters, well, you're saying that about him. What about me? When they put the name of king on me and bade them speak to him. Then prophet-like, they hailed him father to a line of kings. Right? So this is just reminding us, not that we have forgotten, but it also shows that this is what's in his mind. And we understand that. We should have been anticipating this. Upon my head they placed a fruitless crown and put a barren scepter in my gripe, thence to be wrenched with an unlineal hand, no son of mine succeeding. So what's that? What does he mean by a fruitless crown? Upon my head, they, the sisters, I guess, placed a fruitless crown.
Is that the fact that it didn't come by itself? He had to actually work to kill the king?
Maybe, but again, it doesn't seem like that's what's on his mind right now. Tie it in with his fear of Banquo. Why does he fear Banquo? Does he fear
his son will be the king?
Right? He's not so, it doesn't seem like he's so fearful that Banquo is going to come and kill him. He's fearful because of what the witches said, that Banquo's children will become king. Now, fruitless, right? The connotation there is a tree bears fruit, right?
Mm.
It's referring to a fruitless crown would be a crown that does not bear fruit, does not have an offspring, a one-shot deal. I don't have an heir. And without an heir, with this fruitless situation I'm in where I can't bear fruit, so that I have someone who will be king after me, again, emphasized by the word barren, there's no one to take over once I'm done, no son of mine succeeding. See, fruitless, barren, to no son of mine succeeding. Right? So again, when you're reading something like this, if you're not understanding what this is all about, when you get to this, which is more clear, no son of mine succeeding, I have no son to take over the crown once I'm dead, then this starts to make more sense. If it be so, for Banquo's issue are what issues from him, his children. Have I filled my mind? For them, the gracious Duncan, have I murdered? What his reasoning here is, I don't have an heir, and if the witch's prophecy comes true, and Banquo's children are going to replace me, and I am only here temporarily, then, oh my goodness, I didn't kill Duncan for me. I killed Duncan for Banquo's children. Which of course he has. Because they didn't think it through. And we're going to see a lot of this now, as especially in Lady Macbeth, as her character really changes. The realization that, whoa, you know, we were playing checkers and this is a chess game. You got to think a few moves in advance. Now, Macbeth is realizing this, doesn't want to be the fact that he killed the king for Banquo. One did it for himself, so now it is forcing his hand to take other action in order to preserve, ironically, preserve the prophecy of him being king. But of course, that prophecy by the witches is now done. It's been achieved. They didn't say, and you'll be king for 100, you know, for 50 years, and then your children will be king. You'll have, you know, your kingdom will last for generations. They just told him that he'll be king. So it's now reflecting and going, geez, I didn't pay enough attention and analyze this enough, and I acted rashly because of my ambition. Put rancors in the vessels of my peace only for them, and mine eternal jewel given to the common enemy of man, to make them kings, the seed of Banquo kings? Did I do everything? Did I take all the risk? I'm the one who goes there and kills the king for them? So he's doing something here, you know, two things. One is his fear, and now he's rationalizing, and almost in an attempt to justify what he's about to plan. No, that wouldn't be right, he says, that I do all the work for them. No. It's not like they went there and killed the king. I did. And I'm not just going to hand this off to them after I did all the work. He's trying to justify what he's planning on doing. He's trying to rationalize his actions. It's the beginning of seeing him starting to lose it, right? Because in this process of rationalization, he's manipulating the reality to conform with what he wants, to conform with his ambition. A very common trap that we all fall into it at some time to some degree, where we'll kind of cherry pick the facts and the information we have in order to make it work with our anticipated and desired end. And sometimes that blinds us to things because we're desperately looking for confirmation that what we did was right. And that can often come at the expense of ignoring things that would suggest that what we did was wrong, because we don't want to see that. Push that away. Rather than so come fate into the list and champion me to the utterance. Who's there? Okay, so note just here, drawing it too much, but you know, fate. That idea of fate was Macbeth fated to become king? Right? Fate suggests that you don't have control over it. Comes back to that dilemma. What would have happened if he hadn't killed King Duncan? Would have he eventually become king? And that's trying to get into the minds of the witches. And this does fall into the theological discussion about free will over predestination, right? That if there is a plan in place where it's already been predetermined that I will end up here, no matter what, doesn't matter whether I choose to kill the king or not. whatever I choose to do is already been predetermined, suggesting that fate in relation to the prophecy had already determined that Macbeth would kill King Duncan. We can't know that because he chooses to kill Duncan. And we can never now go back and wonder what would have happened if he chose not to. What if he had stood up to Lady Macbeth? It's neither here nor there. This is one of the dilemmas. It's a big philosophical and theological dilemma. How can we know? You know, ideally we'd enter into the world of Star Trek. Those of you, if there are any Trekkies out there, one of the great episodes when they have the colliding dimensions. It's based on a theory I know very little about, but the idea being that for every action we make, we had numerous other possible actions we could have taken. And in this science fiction mentality of Star Trek, which is based on other theories, that there is another dimension of existence where we actually live that would place us where we would have been if we had chosen to do the opposite or something different than what we did. And of course, mathematically, that means there's infinite dimensions, because it can be, what if I hadn't just thrown my hands out like that and kept them on my lap? Well, there's a whole nother world out there, another dimension where I exist, where I kept them on my lap. Anyways, it's a great episode of Star Trek. You should all watch Star Trek. Star Trek's great. Anyways, but that's the type of questions that's being asked here. What if they hadn't killed Duncan? But now it's done, and now we're going to sit here and go, well, what? We're going to see that the murderers we're about to meet are in fact going to kill Banquo. Well, what if he hadn't killed Banquo? Because as a result of him killing Banquo, it sets off a chain of events that ultimately allow for, sorry, spoiler, for the prophecies that the three weird sisters made to come true. What if I hadn't killed them? What if I hadn't killed Duncan? So, let's keep track of the clock. Oh my God. Right. Let's try to move on here. It's just so rich. Anyways, so re-enter attendant, and now in this, just in case, I mean, don't see this too often with Shakespeare, and I'm wondering if it wasn't editors that put this in, but just to make sure that we're clear, right? It's two murderers. Now go to the door, stay there till we call. So there he's alone with the murders. Now, what I want you to be attentive to here, and remember I've mentioned to you mirroring, where we see a mirror, a reflection of something that happened earlier. Right? It's particularly important in Macbeth because, as I told you, with Lady Macbeth and Macbeth, this reversal of roles. Okay? So what happens here? Basic. Just
I wonder, did he take the decision on his own to kill Banquo, or did, because I didn't hear with Macbeth. Usually it's her that's telling him to do it.
well, good point. No. Now we're not seeing Lady Macbeth telling Macbeth, you know, you better do something about Banquo. Right? That's what we've been seeing before. Often. Now it's just Macbeth seemingly making this decision on his own to hire two assassins. So a very good observation, right? That Lady Macbeth doesn't seem to be part of this. And then, and being alerted to that now, you know to keep looking for that. In his conversation with the murderers, how does he persuade them? What kind of rhetorical devices does he use? The language he uses. It should be something that should be familiar to you in terms of how he is going to motivate them to actually commit murder. And of course, think about it in terms of where have we seen someone else try to motivate someone to commit murder?
He's basically asking them, are they men? Kind of like Lady Macbeth.
Mm.
Thank you.
Masculinity.
He's using the same technique that Lady Macbeth used on him. He's appealing to their concept of what it is to be a man. Remember how Lady Macbeth really played that. And we didn't even go into it in the kind of depth we could have, because there's all kinds of sexual innuendos going in there as well with Lady Macbeth. Talking about that aspect of being a man as well. It's in Shakespeare at his best. So we see how, okay, so he meets the murderers. I did so and went further, which is now our point of second meeting. So second meeting. So he's met with them already. He's already felt them out. He knows that they're capable of pulling this off. And now he's just going to consolidate that. Do you find your patience so predominant in your nature that you can let this go? Are you so gospeled to pray for this good man and for his issue, whose heavy hand hath bowed you to the grave and beggared yours forever? It's difficult, but what jumps out of you here? Well, okay, let's put it into context. Again, I think because this will really help us unpack the language a little bit here. We know what happens, right? He's going to hire them, right? We know, yeah, okay, and he's going to play as was brought up. You know, are you men? Are you able to do this? And you should prove you're men by carrying this out, and so on. But we do always want to spend a little, perhaps, extra time with the language. Well then, now have you considered my speeches? Have you thought about what I've said to you? Know that it was he in the times past which held you so under fortune. Who's he?
Banquo?
Banker.
Yes. So listen, look how Macbeth is manipulating to a large extent. Know that it was he, Banquo, in the times past, which held you so under fortune. And he's referring to his previous speeches. So he obviously has already laid the groundwork for this means of motivating these two guys to commit murder by bad-mouthing Banquo, by saying, you know, it's Banquo who has mistreated you, held you so under fortune. It was Banquo who kept you from realizing your goals, held you under, which you thought had been our innocent self. You thought it was me. It was Banquo. This I made good to you in our last conference. This is what I told you last time we talked because of the previous speech. Passed in probation with you, how you were borne in hand and how crossed, right? Passed on that information to you about how he crossed you, he double-crossed you, however you want to place it, how he wronged you, right? So it's not like I'm just asking you to kill him for money. He wants to make sure that they feel they have a reason to kill Banquo, because that's the only way he can be sure that they'll do it. Because if he doesn't give them a real reason, then they may start going, well, what's up with King Macbeth here, man? How cross the instruments who wrought with them and all things else that might to half a soul and to a notion craze say, thus did Banquo. So remember what we talked about? I told you it was Banquo was the one who was holding you back. Banquo was the one who made life dear. You thought it was me. It wasn't me. It was him. He's the one out to get you. He's the one who's wronged you. Yes, you made it known to us. I did so and went further, which is now our point of second meeting. That's right, I did. And now we're going to follow up on that in the second meeting. Do you find your patience so predominant in your nature that you can let this go? Is it your nature to allow someone to have mistreated you to the extent that Banquo mistreated you, and you're not going to do anything about it? Really? So it's the setup for the use of what it is to be a man argument to motivate them. Is it your nature to let something like this go? This guy mistreated you. Okay. You're not going to do anything about it? Really? What kind of a man are you? Yes, it's playing on the stereotypes, but of course we have a lot of that here. Remember Lady Macbeth saying, unsex me? Basically, make me into a man? So this theme of what constitutes a man and what is manly behavior is running throughout the play and being exploited, right, by Lady Macbeth in relation to Macbeth, and now by Macbeth himself in relation to the two murderers. Right?
But it seems that one murder is bringing another murder, and is probably going to bring another murder. So I don't know how it's going to end.
Well, exactly. But we're anticipating that it does have to end, right? There has to be some kind of resolution because it's a play. But yes, exactly that. But then who's next, right? And again, it started out with just the idea of murdering the king, and then watch how many bodies are going to fall. Whose heavy hand hath bowed to the grave and beggared years forever, and their response, we are men, my liege. I in the catalogue ye go for men as hounds and greyhounds, mongrels, Spaniards, curs, sloths, water rugs, and demi-wolves are clept, named. Clept means named. You should have that in your book, I think. All by the name of dogs. The valued file distinguishes the swift and the slow and the subtle, the housekeeper, the hunter, every one according to the gift which bounteous nature hath in him closed. Okay, what's that all about? You're going. Okay, I know he's talking about nature, and that's right. Eric has said be attentive to when they talk about nature and all that. Why is he bringing it up? You can glean that to a large extent, I would suggest. When we go, okay, so valued file, distinguish the swift and so subtle, the housekeeper, the hunter, every one of these types of beings, types of animals, part of nature, everyone according to the gift which bounteous nature hath in him enclosed, whereby he does receive particular addition. Yes, we are men. I, in the catalogue ye go for men, as are all these male genders, if you will, of these other animals in nature, that we all, as men, share certain characteristics as what constitutes manhood. And so of men now, if you have a station in the file, this file, if you are part of nature as men, not in the worst rank of manhood, sayest, and I will put that business in your bosoms, whose execution takes your enemy off, grabbles you to the heart in the love of us, who wear our health, but sickly in this his life, which in his death were perfect. So yes, it is a fairly convoluted and difficult passage, but the gist of it is getting at, and we know this because we're led to it, we are men. And that should alert us, as was pointed out, to when Lady Macbeth was doing the same thing. I am one, my liege, whom the vile blows and buffets of the world have so incensed that I am reckless what I do to spite the world. And I another, I am one, sir, I am what you're describing. And I another, I am as well. So we see Macbeth getting them worked up to do this. Both of you, no Banquo was your enemy. True, my lord. So is he mine. and in such bloody distance that every minute of his being thrusts against my nearest of life. And though I could with barefaced power sweep him from my sight and bid my will avouch it, I'm king. And do whatever I want. I can kill right because he's anticipating objections, right? The murderers may be sitting there going, why do you need us to do it? Why don't you just do it yourself? You're king. And you can justify this. Yet I must not, for certain friends that are both his and mine, whose loves I may not drop, but wail his fall, who I myself struck down. You may be thinking, why don't I just kill him myself? I have all the power. Well, that's going to anger some of our mutual friends. Right? And I'm the king, and this is politics. I can't be seen as having orchestrated Banquo's murder. I need you guys to do it for political reasons. Got it? Capiche? Okay. That's what he's saying to them. And it makes sense, right? He's wrapping it up in a logic to ensure that they will follow through with it. We shall, my lord, perform what you command us, though our lives, and he says, your spirits shine through you. Now he flatters. Now that he's got them in there, through the power of his oratory skills and his use of rhetoric and his charismatic personality, now he flatters. Again, it harps back to the reference to Mark Antony and Caesar in terms of the use of rhetorical means of persuasion. And we're seeing that here as well. Within this hour at most, I will advise you where to plant yourselves. I'll tell you where to go. Acquaint you with the perfect spy of the time. The moment on it, for must be done tonight. And something from the palace always thought that I require clearness, and with him to leave no rubs nor botches in the work, Phleanus' son, that keeps him company, whose absence is no less material me than his father's, must embrace the fate of that dark hour. Resolve yourself apart, I'll come to you anon. Right? So on top of this, and again, it kind of drops it in there, right? The way he was doing with Banquo. All right, so we'll see you tonight at the banquet. And by the way, is Phleanus going with you? Here he drops in, oh, and by the way, you resolved to kill Banquo. I've got you worked up, right? Banquo has wronged you, and he's my enemy too. I can't kill him myself, and you are real men, right? I'm not talking about pretend men. You're real men, right? Yes, sir, we are. All right, so we're all on board. We're going to kill Banquo, right? Yeah, rah, rah. Oh, by the way, be sure you kill his son too. And the way he introduces that, because if he introduced that earlier, they may go, well, why his son? His son hasn't done anything to harm us. It's Banquo who's done something to harm us. Why would we kill his son? But by introducing it at the end, after he's got them all worked up and played on their manhood, now it's easy to slip it in. We are resolved, my lord, I'll call upon you straight, abide within the murderer's exit. And he says, you know, again, all by himself, it is concluded, Banquo, thy soul's flight, if it find heaven, must find it out tonight. Okay, so we're seeing how this is all unraveling. I'm spending a particular amount of time, again, for those of you who are struggling with the language, trying to show you different methods by which you don't get too frustrated when you're coming across passages where not much is making sense. Grab on, yes?
I posted a link in the chat if anyone has like a problem with like language barrier or anything like that. So I thought it might help.
Yeah, no, I saw that. I appreciate that. There's lots of material. So if you guys go to the chat, there is, Olivia did put a link there. There's tons of material on the internet that you can look to that can be helpful, but I caution you, all right, don't rely on it, because it's easy, and I've seen this too often, where then someone is instead of reading the text and struggling through it, right, they're just going to go turn to someone who's going to explain it all to them. And two reasons why you have to be wary of that. One is you're not going to get the full Shakespeare experience, right? I promise you, you won't. You just can't, right? And yes, it's easier, but you can't. You're not going to be able to really sink your teeth into the language and the nuances and so on. The other reason I caution you is if you go to those sites and you rely on them at the expense of reading the text, that could come back and impact you when it comes to the exam. Okay? I mean, I'll know. I'm very attentive to, and often the way I phrase the prompts for the Shakespeare plays when I make the questions is it is geared towards being able to understand the language as well. So I don't mind you going to the other sites as an aid, but please don't do it at the expense of reading it the way we're reading it. Okay? Right? But again, as long as you keep that in mind, then yes, it can be helpful. But I'll also suggest, you know, before you turn to those secondary sources, read it first. Right? Then you can turn there and then ideally, of course, come back and reread it. But remember, we have the time. We can look at that, explore that in a little more depth when we get to that class, that review class before the exam. Okay. So we get to scene 2. We should be able to get through this before the break. Now, again, as was pointed out, where was Lady Macbeth? Oh, and keep in mind as well, when you go to those other sources, they're going to help you with the language. And that's where Olivia, as Olivia points out, that can be really helpful. It's not necessarily going to help you out with interpretation. That you have to do on your own. All right? So keep that in mind as well. Lady Macbeth comes in, as was pointed out. Where's, you know, why was Lady Macbeth part of this planning to kill Banquo? Because she's been part of the planning for everything. As a matter of fact, she's been planner number 1. And here we finally see her in this third act. Is Banquo gone from court? Aye, madam, but returns again tonight. Say to the king I would attend his leisure for a few words. I need to see the king. Madam, I will. Okay. Exit. Now, again, she's alone here before Macbeth enters. Knots had all spent where our desire is got without content. What's that mean?
He became king. That was only she desired in the first act.
Yes. Where our desire, what was the desire? To become king and queen.
To become king.
Right? So, what's going on here where our desire is got? We achieved what we set out to do. But without
We're not
content,
happy.
we're not happy. Or at least she's not happy. It's like you have to have this image. And again, she's not coming until the second scene of the third act, right? Last time we saw her, she's all gung-ho. And now she's coming out saying, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. We set out to become king and queen. I'm queen, he's king. Why am I not happy? Now, there are obvious reasons why, because there's danger lurking in Banquo and the others, but it's more than that, right? Remember, there's always layers. It's also addressing an issue we've all experienced. Now, you know, we've wanted something, we work hard to get it, and even when we get it, we'll have that euphoria. I finally did it. I don't know if you're a gamer and you're going to beat this score. Yeah! got it. Now what? Why am I not? Because it's the drive to achieve. It's the journey, more often than not, where the excitement lies and the contentment lies. Once you achieve it, especially when we're dealing with something like ambition, and this is something to look at, trying to understand why Lady Macbeth isn't happy. Often we see it more so in Macbeth. If you're driven to someplace by your ambition, okay, I'm ambitious, I want to become the vice president of this company. Well, once I become vice president, if I'm ambitious, am I going to be satisfied? I'm going to want to be president. I'm going to be president of the company. All right, good. I'm going for it. I'll become president of the company. Boom, I am now president of this company. But I am ambitious. Is that enough? Is my company the most powerful company on the face of the planet? No? Well, let's go. And even when you get there, there'll be another mountain, another hill that you can climb. It never ends. And that's thinking long-term as opposed to the short-term thinking that it appears that the Macbeths engaged in. They weren't thinking ahead to see where they would go next. And that's often the case in life. Remember, every chance you get to relate what's going on to something that you've experienced, at this stage, while you're reading and thinking about it, that's very important and extremely productive. Because that'll give you a means by which to realize that this play is about much more than just a guy named Macbeth and his wife, Lady Macbeth. Everything Shakespeare does, pretty much all the short stories we do is the same thing. They're always attempting to look at things about the human condition and human behavior that we can, and what makes them lasting and durable is the universality of it. That there are elements here that we can all identify with. Without that, there's nothing. It's just something to analyze that has very little meaning if we can't identify with it. But at the same time, be cautious that when you're writing your essay, responding to a question, that's not the place to say, oh, I can identify with this because I remember 3 years ago when I was, living in San Francisco and I met this guy who was living on the 4th floor and I was on the 2nd floor. And then we had this moment where we realized we could both be living on the 6th floor, but we'd have to work together and we'd have to convince the landlord, and we behaved deviously in order to achieve our ends because we were ambitious. Great. Fantastic story about your life. I'm intrigued. But not in an essay. Okay, that's for when we go out and have a coffee or a beer later and you can tell me about that. That is also something that can come up during our discussions of the play, but it's not to be included in an academic essay. I'm bringing that, trying to make that point because I want you, though, to be thinking about it because that's going to give you greater insight as to what the play is about. Think about any time you've been ambitious. And you can say, well, I would have never done what they did. I hope not. But what have you done that could be somewhat considered in the same ballpark? I've done something, I'm not sure. Should have done that, but it wasn't that bad, and I did actually then win, right? Or something like that. So we have it, and we're not happy. 'Tis safer to be that which we destroy than be by destruction dwell in doubtful joy. So what we're getting here is Lady Macbeth seems to be.
Could I try, sir?
Yeah.
Does it mean it's safer to have less, even if you feel destroyed? than to use destruction to do something bad and then have doubtful joy. Like you don't
Yes.
have the full joy.
Very, very good. Yes, that is part of what's going on here. She's contemplating it. She's not convinced, but she's trying to understand why she's not happy. But it is the beginning of a sequence related specifically to Lady Macbeth that leads towards what you'll be encountering for next week, with one of the most famous scenes in Shakespeare, when she's trying to, sorry, spoiler, trying to wash the blood off her hands. I'll leave it at that for now. So very good. Yes, well done. So Macbeth comes in. How now, my lord? Why do you keep alone? Of sorriest fancies your companions making, using those thoughts which should indeed have died with them, and they think on. Things without all remedy should be without regard. What's done is done. We see here this beginnings of Lady Macbeth starting to doubt things. But when she sees Macbeth, how now, my lord? Why do you keep alone? Of sorriest fancies your companions making. Why are you looking disturbed? Why are you, what is it? What's done is done. Are you thinking, like, are you having negative thoughts here? But of course, the irony is she just was herself. Again, it's just the beginnings of Macbeth. You see now when you see characters transition, change, evolve, right? It's not snap, it happens. Life doesn't work like that. It's through degrees. It's gradual. It's a process. It's one of the things that this play does exceptionally well, is show that process, even within the confines of a play, which is obviously time limited. We have scotched the snake, not killed it. Right? We've scratched, scratched. Right? We're not done. She'll close and be herself, whilst our poor Malice remains in danger of her former tooth. But let the frame of things disjoint, both worlds suffer. Just get to the main point here. Ere we'll eat our meal in fear and sleep in the affliction of these terrible dreams that shake us nightly. Okay, so when you see all this, again, I can't do this with every passage because we'll never get through the play. Okay, but again, if this is all a bit confusing, grab what does resonate. Terrible dreams that shake us nightly. Oh, Macbeth is having terrible dreams that are bothering men every night. Better be with the dead whom we to gain our peace have sent to peace, than on the torture of the mind to lie in restless ecstasy. Better be with the dead whom we to gain our peace have sent to peace, right? The dead that we sent, that we killed, right? We sent the people to peace to gain our peace. It's playing on words, obviously, it's Shakespeare. Then on the torture of the mind to lie in restless ecstasy. What does that mean? Restless ecstasy. Ecstasy is joy, right? What? But you're
It
restless.
seems that Duncan is chasing by his conscience.
Yeah.
Sleepless nights.
Right. Now, and the question we're asking, is it his conscience or is it his fear? His fear of being exposed, his fear of Banquo, or is it playing with his conscience? We would, at this stage, based on what we've seen so far with Macbeth, think it's his conscience, because he's been grappling with his conscience all along. And that with Lady Macbeth, it would be more a pragmatic fear, because she's always been pragmatic, practical, seemingly with no conscience whatsoever. That's why we're seeing a bit of the shift. Because we're already hinted to that with Macbeth, because we know that Macbeth fears Banquo. We know that he's already ordered the murder of Banquo. So is he having restless ecstasy and dreams at night, nightmares, because he is racked with guilt over killing Duncan, or because he's fearful that Banquo is going to end up killing him and putting his sons in power or something along those lines? It's not clear yet, but it's slowly becoming more and more evident which way they're going to go. Come on, gentle my lord, sleek over your rugged looks, be bright and jovial among your guests tonight. Come back to that other theme. We see them when they're alone together expressing their concerns, especially we saw with Macbeth, and we're having a continuation. Look, be careful how you look, right? Don't give anything away. Keep the deception up at your party tonight, your banquet tonight. So shall I love, and so I pray be you. Let your remembrance apply to Banquo. Present him eminence, both with eye and tongue. Let your remembrance apply to Banquo. Present him eminence, both with eye and tongue. Don't give anything away to Banquo. Flatter him. Do what you need to do. Don't let Banquo get suspicious, because he's the one who would be more likely to be suspicious than anyone else. But what do we know that Lady Macbeth does not know at this stage about Banquo?
The Macbeth already is taking care of it.
Yeah. So now what are we seeing as a result of that? Is he lying to Lady Macbeth? Is he deceiving Lady Macbeth? He's telling Lady Macbeth, you be sure you treat Banquo properly tonight at the banquet. Don't give anything away. But he already knows in the back of his mind, yeah, Banquo's not going to be at the banquet. I just sent 2 guys to go kill him. Try watching the subtle changes in both characters. Unsafe the while that we must leave our honors in these flattering streams and make our faces visitors to our hearts, disguising what they are. Okay, and now it's really Macbeth emphasizing this more than Lady Macbeth, though we've seen Macbeth talk about this as well. Notice how often we're seeing about putting on masks to deceive. Okay, what time is it? We got a few more minutes. Let's try to get through this. You must leave this, and notice what Macbeth says here. Oh, full of scorpions is my mind, dear wife. It's an incredible and famous image, right? Full of scorpions is my mind. There's so many animals, insects he could use, but a scorpion, right? Very intentional. What is a scorpion? What do we know about a scorpion?
Scorpion is dangerous. It has a lot of legs.
A lot of legs, and it has that famous.
It has poison also.
The poison at the tip of its back, right? I mean, it's a really creepy looking.
It's like an imagery of the different things that running on the mind of Macbeth.
Right, and it's a scorpion that stings with poison and is deadly. And it's not that there's a scorpion in his mind. Full of scorpions is my mind. But there's also the element of the scorpion.
Full of evil thoughts?
Exactly. Well, yes, well done. Because it's not just that a scorpion, yes, we can get the image that my mind is all in turmoil.
How he act or how he react to his prey, like that. He's
And that
comparing.
and it's specifically a scorpion, which is also very dangerous. Okay, so it does suggest both things. Yeah, there's scorpions in my head. I'm losing my mind. And there's scorpions in my head. And they're vicious. And they want to sting. If you're familiar with the story of the scorpion and the frog, anyone familiar with that parable?
Nope.
No?
Yes, I do know of the scorpion and the frog.
All right, well, you know what? For the benefit of the others, I'll give a very abbreviated version of it. Way to segue into our break before we come back and look at this and thinking of the scorpions and what the nature of a scorpion is. So the story is, Scorpion is doing his thing around the desert, trying to get to a certain spot, and he comes to this river. And the scorpion can't swim. The scorpion can't get to the other side of the river on its own because it can't swim. But it needs to get to the other side of the river. And the scorpion sees a frog. So the scorpion says, "Hey, frog, I need to get to the other side of the river. Can I get on your back and you can swim me across to the other side, please?" And the frog looks at the scorpion and says, "Are you crazy? You're a scorpion. I'm a frog. You get on my back, you're going to sting me. You're going to kill me. Why would I do that?" And the scorpion looks at the frog and says, "Well, hold on, Mr. Frog. Think about this for a minute. If I'm on your back and we're crossing the river and I sting you, yeah, I'm going to kill you. But I can't swim. So if I sting you and kill you, I'm going to drown. So why would I do it?" The frog thinks, "You know what? That's logical. That makes sense. Hop on." Scorpion hops on the frog's back. They're going across the river. They get halfway across the river. And the scorpion stings the frog. And the frog is like, "Dude, what are you doing? You just killed me, but you also just killed yourself. Why would you do such a thing?" And the scorpion looks down at the frog and says, "I had to. I have to be true to my nature."
Instinct.
That, be true to who you are. Where that comes into play, it's a little bit out there to bring it in this discussion, but we do have the scorpion. But it is also going to help us now. If he has a brain, his mind is full of scorpions, has that changed his nature? Remember who he was and what he's becoming. What is his true nature, as well as Lady Macbeth's? And the question we're going to ask as we watch Macbeth get more and more ruthless is his true nature what we saw earlier when he was wishy-washy, "I shouldn't do it, I should do it," or is his true nature as relentlessly vicious as he becomes? And of course, we ask the same thing about Lady Macbeth. Is her true nature what we saw in the first two acts, where she's really, I mean, let's be honest, she talks about dashing out the brains of her own baby. It's like, whoa. We're going to see her change. And what's her true nature? All right. Let me just clear this. We are at 2 o'clock. Okay, we'll quickly touch on the end of that. We will go a bit faster here. There are some issues, if anyone picked up on it. How many murderers does Macbeth talk to up here?
Earlier 2, but the third one will join.
Right. It's one of the big conundrums in Shakespearean scholarship. Who is the third murderer that just suddenly appears? We can't spend too much time because there is no no one's come up with an absolute answer to that. There's a lot of not speculation. There's a lot of analysis that suggests maybe this, maybe that. But we will talk about it a bit, and then we'll move on to the banquet scene, which is, and even remember, we have the time. Please keep in mind that if we fall even remotely behind, if we don't get to finish all of Act 3 today, we'll have time to come back to it. Okay, and everything will be covered. All right, I'll go a little faster in the second half, since the main reason I slowed down as much as I did, which I love to do, by the way, just word by word by word. If it was up to me, we'd spend the entire semester on one Shakespeare play, and I could go through it word by word by word by word. I love it. But I did that specifically now to help you, since you expressed earlier, to become more and more familiar with the language and to strategize in terms of how to read it so that you can then make connections. All right, any questions before we break?
No. Actually, it is very helpful when we are studying like this.
Yeah, I
Opening
mean, believe it or not, I'll be straight up with you. It's helpful to me too. I mean, I've read these plays so many times, but when I teach it, especially in this method, I get so much more out of it. Pick up on things that I didn't even notice before. That's the beauty of close analytic reading, especially with something as rich and as layered as Shakespeare. All right, everyone, so 2:30, we'll be back, and we'll take it from there. All right, everyone.
Okay.
See
Thank you.
you soon. again, my morning class did not record today, so it's really weird. So hopefully this will record and convert properly, and you'll have this to go back on. Any other observations? No, for now, okay. We'll get back to the text. Let's take a look. Beth. Okay. All right. So we were up here, right? Again, make sure you hide, you mask your feelings. Oh, full of scorpions is my mind. That's what we were talking about. Yes. Note here as well, right? There's comfort yet. They are assailable. Then be thou jocund, ere the bat hath flown his cloistered flight, ere to black Hecate. We'll see Hecate coming up. She is the queen of witches. Summons the shard-boned beetle with his drowsy hums, hath rung night's yawning peal. There shall be done a deed of dreadful note. Again, when you're reading this, you go, what? The bat? And what? But note the last line. There shall be done a deed of dreadful note. What's he talking about here? Lady Macbeth wants to know what's to be done. Be innocent of the knowledge, dearest Chuck, till thou applaud the deed. So what he's talking about, of course, is killing Banquo. But notice how now it's confirmed, going back to what was brought up earlier, that she is left out of the loop. He is now acting on his own. Right? And and that comes back again to what was being brought up. How much is her behavior predicated on Macbeth's behavior? You know, where she was in control and he was so seemingly dependent upon her, now he's taking more charge. And she's recognizing it. It thickens, thou marvelest at my words, right? You marvel, you're wondering what I'm talking about, but hold thee still. Things bad begun make strong themselves by ill. So prithee, go with me. All right. Things bad begun make strong themselves by ill. Things that started off by doing something bad can become stronger by continuing to do bad. That's what he's saying there. Okay. All right, so we have the murder scene here, and we have this issue of the third murderer. Again, this is one of the more controversial and baffling elements in not just Macbeth, but in much of all of Shakespeare, that much has been talked about. You know, who is this third murderer? Why was the third murder? People have speculated that it's Macbeth himself. Don't get bogged down on it for now. Okay, I want us to get through the rest of it, which is more important. Okay, and we can come back and maybe talk about this when we get towards the end of the play in the next couple of weeks. Because right away we say enter three murderers. But who did bid thee join with us? Macbeth. Okay, so however we look at the third murderer, it could be something simply that Macbeth sent someone else with them to ensure they do it right. It allows for this little exchange here. He needs not our mistrust, since he delivers our offices and what we have to do to the direction just. But then stand with us, the west yet glimmers with some streaks of gray, now spurs the lated traveler apace to gain the timely inn, and near approaches the subject of our watch. Okay, so we have this brief thing here, which is confusing. Leave it for now. And then they hear Banquo coming. Give us a light there, ho. All right, so that's letting us know that it's dark. Okay. And when you see within, that means he's not on stage yet. It's coming from off stage. give us a light ho. Then 'tis he, the rest that are within the note of expectation already in the court. His horses go about. Again, the emphasis here on the darkness, because it's a dark deed, the obvious, right? And it's that the murderers are also in the dark, metaphorically, because they don't know why they're actually killing Banquo. Right? A light, always be attentive to light and dark, right? Symbolically, what they suggest in anything that we read. And we have Banquo and Fleece coming in with a torch, so that we have a bit of light entering with them. There is no light with the murderers. 'Tis he, stand to, it will be rain tonight. Banquo says, first of all, let it come down, and they set on Banquo. O treachery, fly, good Fleance, fly, fly, fly. Thou mayest revenge, O slave. Banquo dies, but Fleance escapes. Okay. There's but one down, the sun is fled, and they leave. We have lost best half of our affair. I know this is obviously going to come back to, it goes without saying, right? Because remember, the purpose that Macbeth has sent the murderers is to eliminate this perceived threat that the prophecy, if it comes true, then Banquo is a threat, and even more so is Fleance, because he's the one who will be king, not Banquo. Right? So, you know, when Macbeth gets this news, you know, either whether he realizes it first or whether it comes in time, is the realization, oh, if you're only going to kill one of them, kill Fleance. Because I know Banquo isn't going to become king. All right. So now we have the famous or infamous.
I have a question though.
Yes.
But if you're saying that Fleance is more of a threat, why didn't they try to kill Fleance first?
They don't know, right? These murderers don't know that Fleance is more of a threat. In fact, they're probably thinking he's less so, because all the emphasis that they heard from Macbeth was that Banquo is your target. Remember, it's almost as an aside at the end. Oh, and by the way, Fleance is going to be with him, so make sure you kill him too. So for the murderers, you know, they feel they got their primary target. And it could even be that Macbeth at the time didn't realize, right? He's fixated on Banquo. Not just the fear of Banquo's sons becoming king, but also the fear that Banquo knows. Banquo may also know that they killed the king. So
okay, perfect.
Okay, so but it's a great question, because it is, you know, why wouldn't have Macbeth emphasize the need to kill Fleance? Right? Is it that he's missing something again? Or is it just that he knew he could build up an argument to kill Banquo, but he couldn't give the murderers reasons to kill Fleance? Remember, he killed Banquo because Banquo has wronged you. He's not going to be able to demonstrate that Fleance has wronged the murderers. Okay, so we have the banquet scene. Everyone arrives. This is, you know, their king, their queen. All starts off with pomp and circumstance, and Macbeth saying, ourself will mingle with society and play the humble host. Right? Again, we're going to put on our airs. We're going to have our masks on. We're going to play the part. We have nothing to hide. Right? We can't let them see anything. Our hostess keeps her state, but in best time we will require her welcome. And lay pronounce it for me, sir, to all our friends, for my heart speaks. They are welcome, all playing a part here. Now the first murderer appears at the door. See, they encounter thee with their heart's thanks. He's talking again, Lady Macbeth. Both sides are even. Here I'll sit in the midst, be large in mirth. Anon will drink, measure the table round. So that's drinking. It's a party, but the murderer is coming in. And of course, Macbeth wants to know what's going on. He comes up to the murderer. He approaches the door where the murderer is, right? The first murderer appears at the door. He approaches the door. There's blood on thy face. 'Tis Banquo's then. 'Tis better thee without than he within. Is he dispatched, my lord? His throat is cut. That I did for him. Good news for Macbeth. Thou art the best of the cutthroats, yet he's good that did the like for Fleance. If thou didst it, thou art the non-parial. Right? It's great that you're the king of the cutthroats. Good job. And if you're the one who actually killed Fleance too, you're even greater. Most royal sir, Fleance escaped. And now we get this. Then comes my fit again. I had else been perfect. Whole as the marble, founded as the rock, as broad and general as the casing air. I was in total control. Everything was perfect. Now that I get this news that Fleance escaped, but now I am cabined, cribbed, confined, bound into saucy doubts and fears. But Banquo safe? Ay, my good lord, safe in the ditch he bides, with 20 trench gashes on his head, the least a death to nature. Thanks for that. There the grown serpent lies, the worm that's fled hath nature that in time will venom breed, no teeth for the present. Get thee gone. Tomorrow we'll hear ourselves again. Murderer leaves. Now again, we can only decipher and discern what is transpiring and what's going on with Macbeth by what others are going to say about him. Lady Macbeth, my royal lord, you do not give the cheer. The feast is sold that is not often vouched, while 'tis a making, 'tis given with welcome. To feed were best at home, from thence the sauce to meat is ceremony. Meeting were bare without it. Right? She's acknowledging, my lord, you do not give the cheer. You're not looking, you were very cheerful a few minutes ago. What's going on? Sweet remembrancer. Now good digestion, weight and appetite and health on both. May it please us, your highness, to sit. Now what we've got here is we're sensing that Macbeth is obviously disturbed that Fleance got away. He mentions, it comes my fit again. Okay? It's anxiety. The ghost of Banquo enters and sits in Macbeth's place. Here had we now our country's honored roof, were the graced person of our Banquo present, who may I rather challenge for unkindness than pity for mischance? His absence, sir, lays blame upon his promise. Right? Ross is saying, yeah, I know Banquo's supposed to be here. You know, he promised. Please, your highness, to grace us with your royal company. Macbeth says, the table's full. What does he mean, the table's full? They're asking him to sit down in his seat, right? Right, and there's all the chairs. Sorry, I'm not an artist. Right? And this is supposed to be Macbeth's chair. They tell him, go sit down. He can't sit there because he sees
He saw the Banquo's ghost.
Banquo's ghost is here. But no one else can see it.
Yes.
The table's full. Well, here is a place reserved, sir. Here's your place. Where? Here, my good lord. What is it that moves, your highness? What's wrong with you? Which of you have done this? What? What are you talking about? Thou can't say, thou canst not say I did it. Never shake the gory locks at me. That's Banquo. Is Banquo shaking his head? Gentlemen, rise. His highness is not well. Okay, so here we're seeing it. How this plays out. This is why I wouldn't mind maybe showing the clip if we have time, so you can really see how this plays out. It's really dramatic. But before we get there, as we look at it ourselves, watch Lady Macbeth here. We've already noticed some shifting in Lady Macbeth's behavior. You know, why am I not happy? So it's already there. And when she enters here, that's how we perceive her. And we see Macbeth in control. He's just told her, don't worry, I got things under control. You don't have to know what I'm doing yet. He's taking control. Lady Macbeth has been pushed aside, but now he is losing it. So Lady Macbeth has to come and take control again. And she goes, sit worthy friends, my lord is often thus and hath been from his use. She's making excuses. He has these fits, always has, since he was a child. Pray you, keep seat. The fit is momentary. Upon a thought he will again be well. If much you note him, you shall offend him and extend his passion. Feed and regard him not. And then we have this again. Are you a man? Which is directed at Macbeth. So she's coming back again to this idea of what constitutes a man. And she directs it at Macbeth, like saying, what's wrong with you, man? Man up, in so many words, right? Are you a man? I, and a bold one that dare look on that which might appall the devil. Again, he's seeing something no one else is seeing. Oh, proper stuff, this is the very painting of your fear. This is the air-drawn dagger. What's that?
What we saw in the other scene?
Well, dagger is like a knave, right?
No, the dagger is the actual dagger. This is harping back to his previous vision. Remember when he sees the floating dagger? Okay, so this, she's saying, you're hallucinating again, like you hallucinated with the dagger, which you said led you to Duncan. Of these flaws and stark impostures to true fear would well become a woman's story at a winter's fire. Again, playing on his manhood. Why do you make such faces? When all's done, you look but on a stool. Why are you making those crazy faces? You're just looking at a chair. There's nothing in the chair. But of course, for Macbeth, there is. He says, prithee, see there, behold, look, lo, how say you? Why, what care I, if thou canst nod, speak to? If charnel houses in our graves must send those that we bury back, our monuments shall be the maws of kites. And then the ghost vanishes. Now, it's an interesting, what's really intriguing about this theatrically is the idea of, and again, when we see the clip, you'll see, is there a ghost? We see from the stage direction that there is, and now we're seeing that the ghost actually vanishes. So it would appear that there is an actual ghost, but the problem is no one else can see it. All right. So
Would
yes.
it be the guiltiness of Macbeth also, that he sees the dagger and he feels bad that he killed Banquo, and it's all in his head, really? I mean, it's there for him, but
Absolutely. That's one of the things in staging Macbeth, this particular scene, is do you actually have a ghost in the room? Right? Now, and again, is it all in Macbeth's mind? And it can be either. Because remember, we can't rule out that there's an actual ghost there. We've seen some pretty weird stuff, right? The Weird Sisters. We've seen elements of the supernatural. So it's certainly feasible in this environment, in this world, that there are ghosts. But then the other question is, why can't anyone else see it? And remember, Banquo saw the Weird Sisters. They were very much noticeable. And whether or not it's in his mind or actually there, you know, a ghost is a ghost. So if the ghost wants to make himself visible to one person, I imagine ghosts can do that because that's supernatural stuff. And, you know, they can probably do anything they want. But it is also allowing us to see it in both ways. As both an actual spirit of Banquo come to haunt Macbeth, or an example, evidence of Macbeth losing it, hallucinating just in his mind. And that would be suggestive of guilt. And again, Lady Macbeth with what quite unmanned in folly, always playing on what constitutes a man. If I stand here, I saw him, fight for shame. Goes on, blood has been showed down in olden times. Since 2 murders have been performed, too terrible for the ear. The times have been that when the brains were out, the man would die, and there an end. But now they rise again, with 20 mortal murders on their crowns, and push us from our stools. This is more strange than such a murder is. And Macbeth, Lady Macbeth is sitting there going, Macbeth? There are people all around us. What are you doing? Pull it together. My worthy lord, your noble friends do lack you. You know, you're not here with us. Where are you? Of course, remember, the ghost has vanished at this point. I do forget. Do not muse at me, my most worthy friends. I have a strange infirmity, which is nothing to those that know me. So now he is pulling himself back together and continuing the line of explanation that Lady Macbeth started by saying, yes, I have these fits. It's a strange infirmity. But it's nothing to those who know me. If you know me, you know I have these fits. All right. So again, we see their ability to put those masks on. He was lost, now he's back. He's got the mask on, and they're quick in picking up on each other's ways of navigating through this potentially very dangerous exposure. Give me some wine, fill full, I drink to the general joy of the whole day. Everything seems back to normal. Oh, good. Oh, and everyone say, oh, okay, you know, that's a fair explanation. Our duties and the pledge, and then the ghost comes back. And off he goes again. Avaunt, and quit my sight. Let the earth hide thee. Thy bones are marrowless. Thy blood is cold. Thou hast no speculation in those eyes which thou dost glare with. So it's a real horror, right? It's night of the living dead type stuff here, at least in Macbeth's mind.
So is it possible so that ghost maybe one of these witches?
Why not? We've seen that the witches have powers. Is this the witches engaging in something? It's possible. It would be tough to prove because we don't have evidence from the text to suggest that.
Yes.
But there's certainly a means by which to link it to the Weird Sisters because they are the exemplifying manifestation of the supernatural. Okay. Think of this, good peers, but as a thing of custom. Again, the defense. What man dare I dare approach thou like a rugged Russian bear, the armed rhinoceros? Again, all of the references to nature. It's, again, and we've seen this a few times, so just a quick word on it. It is always comparing humans to animals. And what is that suggesting? And Shakespeare does a lot of, you know, the nature and human nature and actual nature. But what it does is it binds human nature to animal nature. And of course, humans are separated from the animal world, if you will, by their ability to reason, right? By our ability to think and so many other things that animals are very limited in their abilities to do, comparatively speaking. But by these constant comparisons, it's demonstrating that Macbeth is losing that ability to reason, or that other characters are losing that ability to reason and are descending into a pure animalistic state. Again, the ability to reason, when Macbeth earlier in Act 2 is trying to reason and makes a decision, no, we're not going to do this. Because his rationale says it's too risky and it's not just, it's not moral. Duncan's a good man. He's our guest. How can we do this? That's what separates humans from animals. But then when they go ahead and do it anyways, and the further that he, Macbeth, and Lady Macbeth in her own way, descend into this place that they're going, the more they lose their reason, their ability to reason, and the more they become like base animals. instinctual. No longer, I mean, there's still the element that they're plotting and planning. We see that mainly with Macbeth. But you'll see, and we see a bit of that here, that Macbeth's behavior in front of the ghost is, you know, it's a kind of hysterics that is predicated on and evolves out of something that is beyond the human. It's a ghost. Ghost is no longer human. It's how that supernatural then can really compromise and undercut that most human quality of being able to reason, and through that reason draw on moral and ethical right and wrong behavior. Again, why so being gone, I am a man again. Hey, you sit still. So it's back and forth, really enhancing this topsy-turvy, almost dare I say, storm-like behavior within Macbeth, tossed by the winds and the thunder, and then calm again, and then boom again when the ghost comes back.
That reminds me of the witches, the thunder and the storm. And
very good. Exactly where I was trying to get at with that, right? So now that exterior storm that we always see that accompanies the weird sisters, which is also a reflection of the disruption in nature, because the storm is nature, is now a storm within. It's like, you know, all the scorpions running around his brain. Lady Macbeth, you have displaced the mirth, broke the good meeting with most admired disorder. Can such things be and overcome us like a summer's cloud without our special wonder? Can anything like this not cause this kind of disturbance? You make me strange even to the disposition that I owe, when now I think you can behold such sights and keep the natural ruby of your cheeks when mine is blanched with fear. What's that suggesting? He's suggesting, can't you see it? How can you stay so calm and controlled when you see a ghost? What sights, my lord? Well, whoa, what? And then Lady Macbeth again to the rescue. I pray you speak not, he grows worse and worse. Question enrages him. At once, good night, stand not upon the order of your going, but go at once. Lady Macbeth realizes there's no saving this situation. Everyone get out of here. And don't ask any questions, because the questions will make it worse. Go, go, go. And good night and better health attend his majesty. A kind good night to all. So again, what we're seeing here is Lady Macbeth still maintaining her control, stepping up, if you will, even though we've already seen her somewhat weakened by her not understanding why she isn't content when they've achieved their goal. And then Macbeth, I will have blood. They say blood will have blood. Note the emphasis on blood. Blood is a major symbol. We've seen a lot of it already, right? Remember, I'll even harp you back to the first act when they're describing how Macbeth won the day, right? And he stabbed and cut the man almost in half. Very detailed and gruesome description. So that violence is there. Of course, that's described to us. And we don't see him actually killing Duncan, remember? But we do have him coming in with the blood all over the place. Blood, blood, blood. Blood. Down. Almost at odds this morning, which is which. And then Macbeth says here, now this, again, to be attentive to it. How sayest thus that Macduff denies his person at our great bidding? Who's Macduff? Don't just, I mean,
The
yes,
nobleman.
a nobleman, but where have we seen Macduff? And why is Macduff relevant here? Because what's he saying? How says how that Macduff denies his person at our great bidding? Where's Macduff? Why isn't Macduff here? Do you remember Macduff from the end?
Yeah.
Remember, he is saying that he is not, he's talking to Ross, I believe, and Ross says, are you going to go to the coronation? He says, no. We talked about this last week, that Macduff is already a bit suspicious. He's going to become very prominent. Okay, and Macbeth is recognizing now. Where's Macduff? What that's also inferring is, I got Banquo to deal with. I got Fleance to deal with. Do I have to worry about Macduff? Because why isn't he here? Did you send to him, sir? I hear it, by the way, but I will send. There's not a one of them, but in his house I keep a servant feed. I will tomorrow betimes. I will to the weird sisters. More shall they speak. For now I am bent to know by the worst means the worse. For mine own good all causes shall give way. I am in blood steeped in so far that should I wade no more, returning were as tedious as go over. Strange things I have in the head that will to hand, which must be acted ere they may be scanned. What's he saying here? Because, and no, it's not easy because, all right, you lack the season of all nature, sleep. All right, come well to sleep. My strange and self-abuse is the initiate fear that wants hard use. We are all yet but young indeed. What's going on here?
Does he want to speak to the weird sisters
Yes, he does. Why?
to figure out about Macduff and what's going on and what could he do?
Yes. For now I am bent to know by the worst means the worse. For mine own good all causes shall give way. I need to know from the sister what is the worst case scenario. Only by knowing the worst case scenario will I know what to do and how to proceed. And the witches will know. I must see them. There's just too many things that he's fearful of at this point. He needs more insight into the future to know how to act and preserve his status as king. And of course, it's to the weird sisters, they would know because they've known all along. Okay, so this is a bit of a strange scene, and it often does cause confusion a bit, but hold on. Yes, we'll have time. Tell you what, shall we watch a clip? Shall we watch that banquet scene before we go into the last two scenes here? And we do have time.
Sure.
Okay. So it's about 12 minutes long, but I think it is worth looking at. Okay. And, okay. Just hold on 1 minute. Sorry, but I have to address an issue over here. Be right back. Yes. Yeah. I want to bring the football, but it's different. You don't have time now, sweetie. Bring me the plate. Here. It's over there. It's over here. I know. Get the ball. Get the ball. and no, I have it on. All right, well, let's do it another time. I'll go up next time, or just bring the display. Both of the display? Be sure you bring a mask. Sorry. Let me get this set up. Share screen. Share computer sound. Can all see it? Yes? Can you hear that?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I'm going to start from the beginning. I'm going to turn off my mic so I don't disturb you from my end. Hold on. I'm muting myself about 12 minutes, okay? And then we'll come back and discuss.
Sit down at first and last. The hearty welcome.
Thanks to your majesty.
Ourself will mingle with society and play the humble host. Our hostess keeps her state, but in best time, we shall require her welcome.
Pronounce it for me, sir, to all our friends. For my heart speaks. They are welcome.
See, they encounter thee with their hearts, thanks. Both sides are even. Here I'll sit in the midst. But first, we'll drink a measure the table round. There's blood upon my face.
'Tis Banquo's, then.
'Tis better thee without than he within. Is he dispatched?
My lord, his throat is cut. That I did for him.
Thou art the best of the cut-throats. Yet he's good that did the like for Fleance. If thou didst it, thou art the nonpareil.
Most royal sir, Fleance escaped.
Then comes my fit again. I'd else been perfect, whole as the marble, founded as the rock, as broad and general as the casing air. But now I'm cabined, cribbed, confined, bound into saucy doubts and fears. But Banquo's safe.
Aye, my good lord. Safe in a ditch he bides, with 20 trenched gashes on his head, the least a death to nature.
Thanks for that. There the grown serpent lies, the worm that's fled has nature that in time shall venom breed. No teeth for the present.
My royal lord, you do not give the cheers.
Sweet remembrance, sir. Now, good digestion waits on appetite.
And health on both.
Here had we now our country's honour. Roofed were the graced person of our Banquo present, who may be rather challenged for unkindness than pity for mischance.
His absence, sir, lays blame upon his promise. Will please your highness grace us with your royal company.
The table's full.
Here's a place reserved, sir.
Where?
Here, my good lord. What is that moves, your highness?
Which of you have done this?
What, my good lord?
Thou canst not say I did it. Never shake thy gory locks at me.
Gentlemen, rise, his highness is not well.
Sit, worthy friends. My lord is often thus, and hath been from his youth. Pray you keep seat. The fit is momentary. Upon a thought he will again be well. If much you note him, you will offend him and extend his passion. Are you a man?
I and a bold one that dare look on that, which might appall the devil.
Proper stuff. This is the very painting of your fear. This is the air-drawn dagger which you said led you to Duncan. Oh, these flaws and starts. Impostors to true fear would well become a woman's story at a winter's fire authorized by her grandam. Shame itself! Why do you make such faces? When all's done, you look but on a stool.
Behold! Look! How say you? What care I if thou canst not speak to? If charnel houses in our graves must send those that we bury back, our monuments shall be the moors of kites.
What quite unmanly folly.
If I stand here, I saw him!
Fie for shame!
The time has been that when the brains were out, the man would die. And there an end. But now they rise again with 20 mortal murders on their crowns and push us from our stools. This is more strange than such a murder is.
My worthy lord, your noble friends do lack you.
I do forget. Do not muse at me. My most worthy friends, I have a strange infirmity which is nothing to those that know me. Come, love and health to all. Then I'll sit. All right? Give me some wine. Fill full. I drink to the general joy of the whole table and to our dear friend Banquo, whom we miss. Would he were here. To all and him, we thirst. And all to our duties and the pledge. Avaunt and quit my sight! Let the earth hide thee! Thy bones are marrowless. Thy blood is cold. Thou hast no speculation in those eyes which thou dost glare with.
Think of this, good peers, but as a thing of custom, 'tis no other. Only it spoils pleasure of the time.
What man dare I dare approach thou like the rugged Russian bear, the armed rhinoceros, the Heckin tiger, take any shape but this, and my firm nerves will never tremble or be alive again, and dare me to the desert with thy sword, if trembling I inhabit, then protest with the baby of a girl. Hence, horrible shadow, and real mockery, hence! Being gone, I am a man again. Pray, you sit still.
You have displaced the mirth, broke the good meeting with most admired disorder.
Can such things be and overcome us like a summer's cloud without our special wonder? You make me strange even to the disposition that I owe, and now I think you can behold such sights and keep the natural ruby in your cheek when mine is blanched with fear.
What sights, my
I
lord?
pray you, speak not. He grows worse and worse. Question enrages him. At once, good night. Stand not upon the order of your going, but go at once.
Good night. And better health attend his majesty.
A kind good night to all.
It will have blood. They say blood will have blood. Stones have been known to move, and trees to speak. Orgiers and understood relations have by maggot pies and choughs and rooks brought forth the secrets to man of blood. What is the night?
Almost at odds with morning. Which is which?
How sayest thou, Macduff denies his person at our great bidding?
Did you send to him, sir?
I hear it by the way, but I will send. There's not a one of them, but in his house I keep a servant feed. I will tomorrow, and betimes I will to the weird sisters. More shall they speak, for now I am bent to know by the worst means the worst. For mine own good all causes shall give way. I am in blood stepped in so far that should I wade no more, returning were as tedious as go o'er. Strange things I have in head, which will to hand, which must be acted, ere they may be scant.
You lack the season of all natures. Sleep.
Come me to sleep. My strange and self-abuse is the initiate fear that wants hard use. We are yet but young, indeed.
Sir, now
Yes.
now I understand what you said. It's very important to read it and not watch it, because now we have the outline of the picture. We have the solid ground, and that just gave color inside. Or otherwise, it would have been just a blur, at least to me. But now I get it.
Yeah, no, that's why I'm very careful when I show clips, but only after we've read through the passage together. And I know for some, it's like, well, we just read it. Why do we have to watch it again? But then you can see. Right? And again, when it's a good production, and with Macbeth, we're fortunate to have this one, is what strikes me about this particular one is, yeah, the intensity of Macbeth really losing it, but it's also Lady Macbeth. Because if you recall at the very beginning when they come in, Macbeth is all really doing well, and you can already see that Lady Macbeth is a little apprehensive, and that's reflecting what we were told earlier, right, where we've seen it starting to change. And it comes back to what you were saying earlier, Jyoti, how much of it is her behavior as a result of Macbeth's behavior. Well, here we see in this particular interpretation very much so, something that we don't necessarily get just when we read it, especially if you haven't finished it, because what they were doing in this particular production is at the end, when Lady Macbeth starts to kind of lose it, right? A bit of foreshadowing, okay? And again, we don't see that as clearly when we're reading it. And the only way you can interpret it as such is, of course, with a keen knowledge of the entire play, which you'll have in the next couple of weeks as we proceed. You know, and again, it speaks to the, at times, somewhat subtle transformation. And what I mean by that is the way, especially with Lady Macbeth and with Macbeth, because while he has this hysterical fit, right? Notice how he is at the end. When he's making the decision, I'm going to go see the Weird Sisters. You see him now regathering himself. Right? And what we saw earlier, where he's gaining control, but then he loses it because of a hallucination or because of a ghostly visitation. Then he gets it back. And he's saying, listen, what's done is done. There's no turning back. And if more ill deeds are what necessary, the die is cast. We are committed. There is no turning back. And that seems to give him strength. And we see him at the end of this scene with that strength, where counter to that, we see Lady Macbeth, who after witnessing her husband go through this, and with her own concerns and doubts and, you know, the acknowledgement that Jesus, not only are we not happy, but things, God, aren't they a little worse than they were before? She starts to drift away towards that, while Macbeth, as soon as he pulls himself back from his raw, animalistical meltdown, he gets back his capacity for reason and thought, and immediately starts thinking, what about Macduff? Right? So he's sharp. He's still sharp. He actually, in many ways, becomes a bit sharper because now he's becoming more focused. Now he becomes a very distinct, there's a distinct purpose and direction to go in. There is no turning back. I cannot find, there is no moral or ethical justification for what we did. It was ill, it was wrong, and the only way we're going to be able to maintain it is by continuing down this path. Whereas with Lady Macbeth, there's more of a sense of, with her, you know, let's be king and queen. Cool. Let's do what's necessary to get there. But now that she's there, she doesn't seem to have the same kind of understanding that Macbeth has regarding the no coming back. And now we have crossed over into the world of evil, ambition, blood. That's it, that's all. And what this allows, and what we're going to see, and something that you should be attentive to, is how he will now, with this singular purpose in mind, he sheds a lot of, you know, those things that were troubling, those human qualities of reason and doubt and wonder and thinking. No, forget all that now. I'm on this path, this is the path, and that's it, that's all. And you'll see what that leads to. Always remembering that he was the one who was expressing doubt about whether they should kill the king. He was the one who was demonstrating a conscience. This pivotal scene, what it leads to, which really doesn't come into play until Act 4, is now almost as if his conscience is gone. And he becomes narrow-minded in the pursuit of doing whatever it takes, no matter how bad it is. I mean, there's a way. Anyone familiar with Othello? Anyone read Othello? Anyone remember Othello? Iago?
Last year at school, like we read a little bit of it.
Okay, so I bring it up because what we're going to be looking at now and contemplating in the character of Macbeth, and it does relate to the character of Iago from the play Macbeth, from the play Othello, which I think you figured this out. It goes without saying. I highly recommend pretty much anything Shakespeare writes. But Iago is one of those characters that is a personification for many of a kind of pure evil. And again, I won't go into a whole synopsis of the play. I've always challenged that notion because the thing with Iago is we never really find out what motivates Iago to behave in his evil ways. With Macbeth, and that's what that ending that we just witnessed, that scene, is now it seems to be almost like I've crossed into a world that is no longer, to some degree, human. Human in the sense that humans have that ability to rationalize and the ability to feel remorse, to have a conscience, to distinguish between right and wrong, morality and ethics. All those things that were clearly a part of him and his decision-making, where he was overcome and overwhelmed by two things. One was his ambition, understandable, but of course all then combined with Lady Macbeth pushing to do it. That combination had him cross a line. And he's still now straddling that line, right? We can still put on the act, can still, we're king, we're queen. Look, we're having fun at a party with the drinking and everything else. But after this, the visitation of Banquo's ghost, or the hallucination of Banquo's ghost, and the utter chaos, right? You see how the actor, Ian McClellan, really becomes an animal, a base beast in that scene. He pulls himself back and comes back to a kind of human form, but now it's going to be a human who no longer takes into account all those most important qualities that make us human, which is compassion, understanding, rationale, and so on.
The scorpions in his head.
The scorpions in his head. But now it's almost as if those scorpions in his head were causing him to, become so beastly. Okay, I can control those scorpions, but at what cost? And that cost is, in a sense, an element of his humanity. And it's important to remember that because we see that humanity in him in the first two acts. When he seems and we empathize with him, or at least sympathize with his struggling when he's trying to make the decision. And we tend, for the most part, reactions often are, man, if it wasn't for that Lady Macbeth, Macbeth wouldn't have done this. And it's all her fault, which is, I would argue, not a fair interpretation at all. But I think it's very purposely drawn up like that so that we do have that visceral reaction to Lady Macbeth, which makes it all the more impactful when we see what transpires in the last two acts. So how we look at Lady Macbeth, where we didn't seem to really, it's hard to have sympathy for her because she's so ruthless, not just in her desire to kill Duncan and her own ambition that comes out of that, but in the way that she manipulates her husband into doing it. And we do have sympathy for Macbeth because he said to her, we're not going to do this thing. I'm putting my foot down. And she says, well, what kind of a man are you? Right? And we feel bad for him. We feel it's also weakness. So we're a little angry with him, be a little stronger than that, man. But now watch how those reactions we have to these two characters as they proceed, as they are switching roles, the way we react to them is going to switch as well. But we're carrying into it, even at this stage, it's, even enhanced a bit at this stage, to the pain that Macbeth is in. Right? So again, if that is actually in his mind, it shows such a tormented mind, scorpion-filled mind. But then note how he is at the end. And that's very purposeful because we can't really get a full grasp of it yet, but we're going to see. And notice how Lady Macbeth is at the end. She's distraught. So watch how your emotions and responses to them may shift a little bit as we continue down this path. Okay? So let's, we have a bit of time, so let's take a look at these last two scenes. Get set up for Act 4. Okay, so we have the fifth scene. It's a heath, again, as we've come to expect. Thunder. And the three witches, now they're meeting with Hecate. Did you notice that Macbeth mentioned Hecate in his last, when his meltdown there? And Hecate is basically kind of like the queen of witches.
Queen of witches.
Okay. So basically their boss, in a sense. There's been some issues related to why she appears now and she wasn't there earlier. And so we can talk about that later on. How now, Hecate, you look angrily. Why are you angry? Have I not reason? Beldams as you are, saucy and overbold? How did you not dare to trade and traffic with Macbeth in riddles and affairs of death? And I, the mistress of your charms, the close contriver of all harms, was never called to bear my part or share the glory of our art. Why? She's angry at the witches because they've embarked on this adventure, if you will, with Macbeth without her. All right. And which is worse, all of you have done hath been but for a wayward son, spiteful and wrathful, who, as others do, loves for his own ends, not for you. But make amends now, get you gone, and at the pit of Acheron, meet me in the morning thither. Have been away with son. Meet me in the morning, thither he will come to know his destiny. She knows already that Macbeth is coming to know his destiny. Your vessels and your spells provide, your charms and everything beside. I am for the air. This night I'll spend unto a dismal and fatal end. Great business must be wrought ere noon. Upon the corner of the moon there hangs a vaporous drop profound. I'll catch it ere it come to ground. Right? So get the imagery. Great business must be wrought ere noon. Upon the corner of the moon, there hangs a vaporous drop profound. This is supernatural, mystical type of stuff here. I'll catch it ere it come to ground, and that distilled by magic sleights shall raise such artificial sprites as by the strength of their illusion shall draw him on to his confusion. We're talking about, get prepared. We're going to be meeting Macbeth again. And now we're going to what? Show him what he wants to see. Play with him a little bit more. We don't know what he wants to see at this point. Remember how pronounced when he, right? Remember over here. I am in blood steeped in so far that should I wade no more, right? I'm so deep in the blood that if I just stopped here, didn't go further on, returning were as tedious as go over. I wouldn't be able to return. I've crossed over to the other side. Strange things I have in head that will to hand, which must be acted ere they may be scanned. And we get the sense that she knows this. Now that makes it for her different. Right now, they don't have to be concerned about whether or not, and it's going to be some bizarre stuff coming up. Be prepared. And difficult stuff. So be prepared with what
I find it interesting, sorry, that it's just before Macbeth did something without his wife knowing, and they did something without Hecate knowing. I don't know if it has...
No, that's, I like that. Sure, that you can make that connection. Not sure what the significance is, but the connection is there, absolutely. And the fact that it's coming right after the scene where we see him doing something without her and experiencing something without her. Nice observation. And that's exactly what you want to be doing. You write that down, you take note of it. Will it evolve into something bigger? Maybe, maybe not. But it's something you look towards by making those types of connections. Okay. So again, now the introduction, bringing Hecate in, it's also going to be dealing with a different Macbeth now. So you want to be attentive to how they deal with this different Macbeth. And we see that she knows because she says down here, confusion, he shall spurn fate, scorn death, and bear he hopes above wisdom, grace, and fear. And you all know security is mortals' chiefest enemy. He will spurn fate and scorn death. He's crossed into this world where now we are going to do other things with him. We got him. It's almost suggesting to some degree that this was part of the plan, but of course that becomes problematic because she indicates up here that she wasn't part of the plan. Maybe it was part of the plan for the three witches. And now, I don't know if you, how do you put it? If any of you have been in sales, I had a sales position somewhere, especially a telemarketing type sales, the way the process is, most of the salespeople on the floor set up the sale, right? They have to convince the person to buy the product. And it's often, in telemarketing, quite sketchy, right? Nasty, nasty business sales. But then when they have the commitment from their client, they then call in for the closer. A higher position within the sales environment who then comes in to make the final deal. Because that's where money's going to be exchanged and so on. Okay, so we have a similar thing here. You look at Hecate as the closer. She's coming in now that the witches have brought Macbeth to this particular level, this particular place, space, that she will now get involved. So again, it's a little hard to reconcile with the fact that she's angry. Why did you not include me earlier? But she's going to make the best of the situation. And again, keep it in mind for when we see the witches again. Okay, music and a song within, come away, etc. Hark, I am called, my little spirit. See, sits in a foggy cloud and stays for me. And then she exits, Hecate, and the first word is, come, let's make haste. She'll soon be back again. A sense of almost like we better take care. We better move quickly because that's Hecate, you know, and she's the boss. All right, and again, that's a prelude to what's going to transpire again with 3 weird sisters. All right, this last little bit here. Let's see what we make of this, right? It's Lennox. Who's Lennox?
Nobleman from the Scotland.
Okay, good. Gotta always go check and see who's who. Lennox enters with another lord. My former speeches have but hit your thoughts, which can interpret further. Only, I say, things have been strangely born. Now, this is very much for our benefit to give us an idea of now this other element that's going to be introduced regarding Macduff. And what we're anticipating at this point, even though we still know very little about Macduff, is somebody's going to have, Macbeth looks like he's ready. He's going to go back and see the Weird Sisters. He's already confirmed to us that he's crossed over into the dark side, if you will, to jump from a Star Wars analogy to a Star Trek analogy. Oh, a Star Trek analogy to a Star Wars analogy. That with Macbeth, Macduff's, the introduction of Macduff and knowing where Macbeth is at this point, we're now starting to see, hey, is Macduff going to be one of the people that is going to try to help resolve things? Because there has to be resolution. There's a madman, so to speak, or someone who is really scary, who's King of Scotland. And order must be restored to the state. Right, because again, the state of the state will be reflected in the state of nature, and that kind of stormy disruption cannot be sustained. Order must be restored on some level. The gracious Duncan was pitied of Macbeth. Marry, he was dead, and the right valiant Banquo walked too late, whom you may say, if it please you, Fleance killed for Fleance fled. No. So what they're saying here is Fleance, Banquo's son, ran away, right? Because they were trying to kill him. And now suspicion is placed on Fleance for having murdered Banquo. Just the way suspicion was put on King Duncan's sons when they fled. That's the risk of fleeing. But of course they had right. And this would seem to tie in with the reasons why Duncan's sons left was because of their fear that the killer is going to come after them. Right? Men must not walk too late. Who cannot want the thought how monstrous it was for Malcolm and for Donalbain to kill their gracious father. What Lennox is explaining here is like, you know, he's starting to think, wait a minute. You got Fleance killed his father. Malcolm and Donalbain killed their father. Damned fact, how it did grieve Macbeth. Did he not straight in pious rage the 2 delinquents tear that were the slaves of drink and thralls of sleep? Right? Did he not straight in pious rage the 2 delinquents tear? What's he talking about there?
Why did he not go after the sons? Since they killed his father, their father?
Well, it is referencing that, but he is Macbeth. Did he, Macbeth, not straight in a rage the 2 delinquents tear that were the slaves of drink and thralls of sleep? Who were the delinquents who were slaves of drink and thralls of sleep? Who did Macbeth kill?
The guards.
The guards. Again, here's now with the language. They were slaves of drink, remember? Lady Macbeth got them drunk, and they were sleeping. And Macbeth, in a rage, or so he said, killed them. Remember, he justifies that. Who wouldn't have killed them after they just saw their king, and they knew that they killed the king? But of course, that was Macbeth at that time very coherent in saying, I better kill them because, let's get rid of all the loose strings here. Was not that nobly done? Aye, and wisely too, for 'twould have angered any heart alive to hear the men deny it. Lennox is putting the pieces together, right? Was that not he's being sarcastic here. Was that not nobly done? Was that not a noble deed of Macbeth to kill the two murderers of the king? Yeah, nobly and actually kind of wise as well, because would have angered any heart alive to have heard the two guards deny that they killed Duncan. So that, I say, he has borne all things well. And I do think that had he Duncan's son under his key, and please heaven, he shall not, they would find what 'twere to kill a father, so should Fleance. What he's saying here is now that he's becoming suspicious of Macbeth, he says it's a good thing that Duncan's son fled, because if they were under his key, Macbeth's key, and please heaven, they won't be, they would find what 'twere to kill a father, and so should Fleance. The suggestion is, yeah, Macbeth would kill them. But peace, for from broad words and cause he failed, his present at the tyrant's feast, I hear Macduff lives in disgrace. Okay, now Macduff again. Sir, can you tell where he bestows himself? Can you tell me where Macduff is? The son of Duncan, from whom this tyrant holds the due birth, lives in English court and is received of the most pious, and this is all preparing us for the next act, Edward. Edward is King of England. Right, we're in Scotland here. And the son of Duncan, right, is Malcolm. Of the most pious era with such grace that the malevolence of fortune nothing takes from his high respect. Thither Macduff is gone to pray the holy king, Edward, upon his age to wake Northumberland and warlike Siward, that by the help of these, with him above, to ratify the work, we may again give to our tables meat, sleep to our nights, free from our feasts and banquets bloody knives, do faithful homage and receive free honors, all which we pine for now. And this report hath so exasperate the king that he prepares for some attempt of war. What did we just learn? It's a lot, and it's important.
Then they will go to the king. He will request him to court the Macklord.
Yeah, pretty much there. Let's again quickly, because I know we're running out of time. Where's Macduff? This is the answer to where's Macduff. He starts by.
in England. That's right.
Well, we don't know where Macduff. Not Malcolm. Malcolm we know is in England. All right. Yeah, the names are very similar. Where's Macduff? Well, the son of Duncan, Malcolm, from whom this tyrant holds the true birth, lives in English court. We knew that. He went to England. And is received by the king with such grace. Okay? So what is telling us, what to answer where is Macduff? Well, Malcolm is with the King Edward, right? And they're having and getting along really well. And Macduff is gone to pray the Holy King. So Macduff is going to where Malcolm and King Edward are to ask his aid for his help, King Edward's help, and Malcolm's help.
Malcolm.
Okay, because Malcolm is Duncan's son, the rightful heir to the throne. Macduff, right? Remember the difference between Macduff and Malcolm. Macduff is gone because Macduff is a soldier. He's gone to get the king's help to wake Northumberland and warlike Seaward. These are two counties with armies. That by the help of these, with the help of these armies and these leaders of these armies, with him above, God, we may again give to our tables meat, sleep to our nights, free from our feasts and banquets of bloody blankets, bloody knives, etc. Where's Macduff? Macduff is in England where Malcolm is, and they're with the king, and they're soliciting from the king help to raise armies. The armies of Northumberland and warlike Seaward, to raise an army in England to come to Scotland and take out Macbeth. Sent he to Macduff? He did, and with an absolute certain eye, the cloudy messenger turns me his back and hums, as who should say, you'll rue the time that clogs me with this answer. And that well might advise him to a caution to hold what distance his wisdom can provide. Some holy angel fly to the court of England and unfold his message ere he come, that a swift blessing may soon return to this our suffering country under a hand accursed. I'll send my prayers with him. How's that going? It could be going better. Tell him we are waiting, that yes, our country is suffering under Macbeth. And where does he get that? He's putting two and two together, but we've also have to take into account Macbeth's meltdown at the banquet. All these pieces, and it speaks back again to the human capacity to reason and figure things out. Right? It seems a bit obvious to us because we know, we're privy to that it's Macbeth and Lady Macbeth planning Duncan's killing, but it is also becoming clearer to others. They don't have the proof, but they're surmising through deductive reasoning. And now it's on. Some of the noblemen of Scotland are looking to England to help bring an army to Scotland to defeat Macbeth. Does Macbeth know this? Well, we don't know. We don't know exactly. Remember, Macbeth, that whole scene at the banquet was that moment of transformation for Macbeth. He was stripped down to his bare beastly element, and when he recoups at the end of that, he's a different person, accepting that there is no turning back, that what he has done is so beyond the pale of moral and ethical decency. And that, remember, he says, even if I were to stop now, I would never be able to go back. I'm immersed in this blood. And that realization now will change Macbeth. And he'll be much less hesitant because he doesn't have a conscience that's going to make him question things. He's going to go full steam. But what about Lady Macbeth? Well, we have to see what's going to happen in the next act, Act 4. And of course, by all means, you can read ahead as far as you want, all right? It does become a bit of a page turner now, right? But does everyone understand what we're set up for here now as we go into Act 4? Now Macbeth has changed. Macbeth is looking like, oh boy, better watch out for him. He's going to go see the three witches again, and he wants their help, and he wants their knowledge. And by any means necessary, Macbeth is saying, I'm too deep in blood. Doesn't matter what I do now. That's a dangerous place for anyone to be. We're not really sure with Lady Macbeth, but we know that she's like a little rock by, oh boy, what happened to my husband here? You know, I know I encouraged him to be a man, but this is going beyond being a man in that traditional sense of a man. He's become something else. And how's that going to impact her? And now we have more of an understanding of Macduff's role as going to be putting together an army with the rightful heir to the throne, Malcolm, and with the blessing and the encouragement of some of the Scottish nobles. Everything is set up. How is it going to end? We'll have to see. Stay tuned. Same time next week. Any questions? And I know I always ask that. I sound like a broken record asking, and I know you do have questions, but you're also aware that a lot of those questions may be answered as you continue reading. Okay? So keep that in mind. A reminder again that we are going to have that last day before the exam where we're going to be able to really go over all your concerns. Use the, site that Olivia sent us or any other sites, but use them with caution. And as was pointed out, when I show a clip, it's after you've read it and we've read it together. So don't start looking at any of these sites or aids to the play, please, until after you've read it. Okay? Otherwise, it really will shape the way you will read. I want you to come to the readings fresh, without influence, as much as possible. I know some of you are going to be tempted. Try to resist that temptation. Watch it afterwards. Read it, and then watch someone explicate it or a translation of it or whatever. But try to read it first. I implore you. It's a much more rewarding experience. It really is. And then we're going to go over it again together. All right? Are we good? Okay, I'm going to stop.